Welcome to another edition of Pants Optional, Pop Cult HQ's Zoom interview segment, interviewing people during the COVID-19 crisis. And my name is Jason Bennett. I'm the chief editor of Pop Cult HQ and the man with the distinction of being swiped left by the most women in the world. And today I'm joined by creator and writer Frank Gogol. You may know him from his Ringo nominated anthology Grief, his 2019 Smash series Dead End Kids, and his recent project that's coming out next month is No Heroine with at Source Point Press. So, Frank, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. And props on the solid intro. You got everything in there. But I have to ask you a question.
Yeah,
Is swipe left the good one or the bad one?
No, that's usually because you're declined.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Hey,
weird.
but I'm winning at something. So
I'd swipe you right.
yeah. Oh, hey. Okay. Anyway. Hey, real quick. I'm thinking about this. You feel the earthquake this morning?
I didn't. I was reading about it, and that it was in Nevada. I'm a little bit away from. I'm about as far away from Nevada on the West Coast as you can get because I live in San Francisco. So
Okay.
we're right on the
But
Pacific.
I had heard from a couple people on social media that some people in the Bay Area did feel it. I mean, I'm up in Tahoe, and I'm not too surprised that I felt it, being in the Sierra Nevadas and
Mm-hmm.
Tonopah, kind of being just east of it. But when I started hearing people from the Bay Area were noticing, I was just curious if it was enough to like wake you or you were already up.
Yeah, the Bay Area is like such a like an amorphous place. I when I moved out here, I was like, oh, it must be all the towns and cities that touch the Bay. But I mean, you go as far as Napa, and people are still calling it the Bay Area, and that's like an hour and a half north of here. So,
Sure.
but I mean, I might have slept through it. I don't know. My dog usually, when we get the little earthquakes here, my dog will wake up like right before them and start barking, and then
Yeah,
it'll.
pets are crazy about it. My cat was freaking out and because we had it not too long ago either. I don't know, within the last, I don't know, a couple months or something. And yeah, crazy. It's a wild way to wake up to, definitely. So let's talk about your new series coming out with Source Point Press. You're teamed up with Chris Mad, Shauna Mad, and Sean Reinhardt. How'd you guys come together to collaborate on this project?
Well, Sean and I have been working together since I started writing. He's lettered like 99.9% of everything I've ever done. I think one time I had to use another letterer because he was just too busy and it was too
Mhm.
quick a turnaround. But otherwise, Sean is like my go-to letterer. He did Dead End Kids, he did Grief, some of the smaller stuff I've done in between, and he's back for this series. And then Chris and I, when I lived in New Jersey, shared a comic shop.
Oh,
We weren't like the best of friends, but we were both kind of Wednesday warriors. We'd both be there when the shop opened to pick up our books, and we would hang out a little bit at the shop and talk shop, and we were kind of vaguely aware of one another. He knew that I was doing the writing thing, and I knew that he did some art stuff. But we really didn't like come together as collaborators until right after Brief came out in print in 2018. I did a show in Philly, or right outside of Philly, and he was tabling there, and I flew in for the show. And we were talking sort of after hours, sort of catching up because, like I said, we had, been friendly. And the conversation kind of went into, if there's ever a project that you have in mind, like a horror book or something, keep me in mind. This was what Chris told me. And I love Chris's art. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like a polite thing artists and writers say to each other because like you only get to do so many books at a time. But like
sure.
I meant it, but I didn't really have anything in mind. I was getting ready to write Dead End Kids like right after I got home on that Sunday. And I got on the plane to fly home to San Francisco. And by the time I got off the plane, I had written the first script for No Heroine, like just because I was thinking about Chris's art and some personal stuff and wanting to do sort of a Buffy-esque story. It kind of just flew out of me, and we've been working on it sort of quietly between things over the last couple of years.
Right.
So that's how Chris got involved, and then Sean is Chris's daughter, and it's just wonderful to have an artist and colorist who, yeah, work so closely together. A lot of the time they're working in the same room together so they can bounce ideas off of one another. And like you can see that there's just like a level of quality in the art that you don't get from people who are working in silos. It's really great to watch them work together and to see them bounce off one another.
No, definitely, and it's definitely apparent. I checked out an advanced review copy, and it's a beautiful looking book.
10 out of 10, right?
I'm sorry.
10 out of 10.
Well, we do it out of fives, but
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay.
you probably expect a 5 out of 5. I actually have one of my reviewers um, uh, at Pop Cult HQ who's going to do a spoiler-free review
Oh,
on it
nice.
right now. So
Nice.
he's going to give.
I'm just teasing. You guys give me
Oh
whatever
no,
goes you deserve.
we'll definitely we definitely want to spread out there. I mean, and it's great looking stuff, and it's punk rock, it's addiction, and it's vampires. And we're
Yeah.
introduced to your protagonist in this first issue, Kayla Strong. What can you tell us about her and you know how she fits into this debut opening issue?
Sure. So when I like start writing a project, it's never ever like a genre driven thing. Like when I wrote Dead End Kids, like it wasn't a murder mystery until like halfway through planning the series. It was always a story about like these kids dealing with childhood trauma and stuff like that. And the same thing was true for this series. I always wanted to tell a story about sort of the recovery phase of addiction. We see a lot in pop culture about like the addiction part and the rehab part, but usually kind of, we don't get a whole lot that focuses on what is the sort of longest and never ending part of the cycle. Once you get clean and get out of rehab, like that's the rest of your life. Every single day for the rest of your life, you're still a drug addict and you have to, wake up every day and say no and do what you have to do. And that to me, from my personal experience growing up with two parents who had addiction problems and having a bunch of friends who I grew up with who are struggling or have struggled with addiction, it's always seemed like the part that is the hardest and the least talked about. So I wanted to tell a story sort of about that. And that's where Kayla came from. Kayla is a recovering addict. When the story kicks off, she is coming up on her 90th day of sobriety, which is sort of like a big milestone in addiction recovery. Um, and she's sort of built herself up these little coping mechanisms for getting through, but they're all sort of built on relying on other people and not sort of finding the strength and ability to take care of herself from within.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, Kayla is not a good person. She's hurt a lot of people along the way. She's trying to do the right thing, but going about it in like a really, really bad way by sort of, not on purpose, but not taking advantage of people, because they're willing to help her and she doesn't want to do the hard thing and take care of herself. So it's very much about a young woman coming to terms with the fact that she's not a very good person, that she is trying to do the right thing, but not getting any traction because she's going about it the wrong way. And that, it's not like a light switch. You don't just flip off everything and then like everything's good again. Like this is a long road and these are the first steps on it. And so this first issue is very much about her coming to understand that, and vampires.
And vampires, and that's the bonus plus. No, and I have to commend you on it. That was the thing that really resonated with me while reading it. Is I come from not only just a family of addiction, but I myself, alcoholism led me to being homeless. I was living in my van, and then I was living on the streets of Seattle. I had to enter a 1 year inpatient recovery program, and I started helping the homeless. So I know what that walk is like, that journey, and seeing that expressed and the struggles that she faces. That you do a lot of messed up stuff, and when you're in your addiction and not of your right mind, and it's
Mhm.
usually a lot of stuff you can't ever take back, and you can't expect anyone to forget. But it's for a long time you feel like you have to make amends. You have to there's a lot you have to prove to yourself and to others, and it really came out strong in this book. And I really from someone who's walked in those shoes, I can really appreciate what you inputted into this first issue with her backstory.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's kind of that was what I was hoping would happen. Like I am a firm believer that addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, has affected a lot more people than most of us are aware of. Like just in like handing out review copies of this book, I've had like 1 in 5, if not 2 in 5 people come back to me and say, this really resonated with me for the same reasons you're telling me. Everyone's story is a little different, but these people, you pass people on the street and you don't know their life story, but like this, addiction and opioids in particular are a big, big problem, and they affect pretty much everyone, like through degrees of separation or whatever it is. And I think that, this book is built for those people, and there's just a lot more of those people than we realize.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it'll really resonate with people because I think most people either have someone in their family or know of someone who's gone through this. So in some way, so many lives have been affected by this. Not necessarily even directly, but indirectly. And so yeah, it's a great concept to inject in this, and then the vampires just makes it all the tastier.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that too. Like this is a dark, heavy book in a way that Dead End Kids wasn't, but I was sort of determined to have fun with it when I was making it. I've never written anything that's got a lot of action, and this series has a ton of action. The second issue is basically one big long chase scene and a big sort of street fight. And like, those are sort of muscles I was looking to refine as a writer. But also, like I said, I wanted to have a little fun. I love Dead End Kids, but I did not have fun writing it. It's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but like, it wasn't like an experience I look back on and be like, I had a good time doing that. I had a lot of fun writing this book in spite of the subject matter. And so that was pretty important. And, I got to be creative, and I feel like we gave Chris, Sean, and I will sort of gave vampires sort of a fresh coat of paint. Like they're, it's hard to take a new look at something like vampires. They've been around forever, but I think we found our little angle in that gives them a little bit of, a little bit of new mileage to cover.
Yeah, I think so. And you mentioned not really sticking to genres and everything. I know we discussed that when when I met up with you in Rose City Comic Con, that you were talking about some other projects and kind of bouncing around some different genres, just trying out different things.
Yeah, we're coming up to a point in pop culture too, where like genres kind of dissolving. Like there's not like everything is cross genre at this point. Like,
it's not as clearly defined and not categorized. There's
like,
more flexibility.
look at something like Westworld. It's a robot show that's also a Western, that's also a drama, that's also about a tech company. I mean, like that is not a genre. That is, Westworld is the genre in that instance. Just because of everything going on in the world, I know internally at Source Point Press, we've been talking about a more conservative print run.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, I had seen that.
Yeah, it's just the book is tracking really well. Retailers are really excited about it. The people who read Dead End Kids a lot of them are coming over, the ones I know. But at the end of the day, we don't know which comic shops are going to be open in a month when the book comes out. We don't know how many of them are going to have the same number of customers. They're probably going to be ordering more conservatively. And it doesn't make sense to overprint and account for reorders, and we won't have conventions to sell single issues at this year. I think pretty much all conventions are canceled at this point, even if it's not announced. So just, the reality of the world we live in is as excited as I am to get the book out in the world and how well it was, projected to do. Like this is the realistic take, and that's okay. Like it's, it is what it is. So we'll print more conservatively. My feeling is that we'll get more orders than copies that we print. We won't know until we get the purchase order from Diamond. But there's a good chance that, people who get their orders in at the 11th hour, they may not get everything they order, or they might get shorted. I don't know.
And I know it's kind of a wait, it's almost a daily, wait and see, because we know that, new releases are coming out next Wednesday. We're getting back into that process, but at the same time, which states are offering, are allowing
Yeah.
comic book stores to open, and that, and
Yeah.
online sales. So I know there's a lot to factor in there. So yeah, so I think it's a good approach as far as a gradual, and because I heard that you're still not even sure if there's going to be a second printing, even with this.
Yeah, it's again, it's just it comes down to like supply and demand and like what's realistic.
Sure.
There's definitely scenarios where it could happen, but as of our last conversations, it's not something that we have currently on the table. It's a wait and see. Um, I would like for everyone to be able to get a copy of the book if they want it. Like one of my biggest regrets for Dead End Kids was that it was so hard to find, especially the first issue, and that really made it hard for people to come onto the series because you can't read two
Right.
and three without one. So I want to, just realistically, if one has a low print run, two will have a lower print run, and three will have a lower print run, and yeah, you sort of stagger it and allow for people to drop off. Um, I don't know. I like I said, it is what it is. I definitely am disappointed. Like we were having talks about what this book could look like, in under regular circumstances, and this was gonna be like a top 150 book for the month of June, and if all things went well, versus
Right.
like the top 300, top 400 that most indie books do. But look, it is what it is, and it will come out, whether even if it kills me.
Sure. And and you're making progress. You're still moving forward despite all this. So even a smaller print run, you're still out there. You're still creating. And like I had seen, I think it was like a couple days ago, you submitted a script for Dead End Kids too.
I did, and I finished the script for number two today.
Nice.
Dead End Kids 2, number 2. That's been brewing in the background since last year. We had some conversations after the first book did really well, and Travis over at Source Point Press said, this is really good. If you want to do more, we can do more. And at the time, I didn't have a story, and I was pretty overwhelmed by the idea of sort of living up to what the first one was in people's eyes. And sequels are name me 5 good sequels.
Sure.
Um, but I took some time, I thought about it, and I came up with a way to do it that felt right, and it was a good story, and it could stand on its own. So I started writing it, and as I've been writing the issues and revising the issues, they've becoming into clearer focus, and I feel really good about it. Like I think that the second series is going to be better than the first series in a lot of ways. For one thing, it'll be longer, so there's going to be some more story to tell and a little more space to tell it.
It's going to be more than
Um,
3 issues,
it's going to be
or
4 issues.
okay.
And it's going to be a heist story, a suburban heist story.
Nice.
And like with No Heroine, I'm having fun writing it, which again is just a big difference maker for me.
That
Um,
definitely makes it seem like a lot less than work. It seems, when you're enjoying yourself, that
yeah,
and having that creativity just flowing. So that's awesome, man.
yeah, I'm excited. That was originally supposed to start dropping around November. We'll see if we move that to the spring or push it a little further into the winter. That's all sort of to be determined at this point, but that is coming. I'm excited about it. But yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Sure, sure. And while I'm thinking about it too, and the timing of everything, uh, Dead End Kids is eligible for Ringo nominations, isn't it?
It is. It is. And
And
we're
what categories can people vote for Dead End Kids
let me
at
see. I've got a
FrankGogol.com?
little graphic here on my computer.
Ah,
Yeah. So everyone's certainly welcome to nominate me for Best Writer. They're welcome to nominate Dead End Kids for Best Continuing Series or Best Limited Series. That's one category, not two. Their best single issue story. I'm telling people to go for Dead End Kids number 2. That's my favorite thing I've ever written. I think it's the strongest.
the middle issue. Okay.
Yeah. And then favorite new series, Dead End Kids. Any of those. I mean, if you want to nominate me or Dead End Kids for any category, even if it doesn't make sense, everyone's welcome to put my name in as many categories as they want. But yeah, it would be very exciting for the book to sort of give me one last gift, raise a little awareness for the second series. Yeah, it would be very cool. You never know. You can't make these things happen. I think, grief might have been like a one-time thing getting a nom last year, but yeah, you can hope and dream and try and see what happens.
You never know. There was a lot of buzz going around in the industry with Dead End Kids, and like you were saying, just selling out of issues and going to additional printings and the exclusives selling out, and just great to hear the success that Dead End Kids brought your way.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was scary in a lot of ways, but it was very gratifying in a lot of ways. I remember being at the Ringo Awards when we lost the award for grief.
At Baltimore Comic Con last
Yeah,
year. Okay.
but Ross Ritchie from Boom was there, and I'm a big fan of Ross. I think he's an incredible president CEO for Boom, and he's very smart in trying to expand the comics market, and just he's a very good person to have in the industry. So I wanted to introduce myself, and I walked up to him, and I sort of waited for him to be done with his conversation. I introduced myself, and I said, I'm Frank Gogol. I love what you're doing over at Boom. And he stops me. He's like, Dead End Kids, right? And I was like, yeah. And he said something to the effect of, you've got some fans in editorial at Boom, keep it up. I don't know if that's something he tells a lot of people, but made my night.
I don't see him being that type of person that
Nah,
needs to do that. He doesn't need to stroke people's ego.
He seems like an all around good guy. I would take anything he said at face value. And it's good that editorial's paying attention to me. It puts me one step closer to writing Power Rangers one day.
Nice. Let's hope it happens. And hey, one thing I was noticing, we'll definitely put the URL down here on the website or on the video. But if people subscribe to your newsletter, they can check out Dead End Kids #1 for free.
Yeah. For my day job, I work in marketing, and we think of all these really clever, savvy ways to get people to give us their emails. And one of the ways we do it is by giving them free content. It's kind of like, it's a sneaky backdoor way to get people to buy the book. But also it's a way to introduce people to my work and say, thanks for giving me your email address in your inbox twice a month. And I try to make the newsletter worthwhile. Like, it's got really good content. It's got lots of advanced stuff. Like, people on the newsletter have been reading about No Heroine for probably over a year at this point. They've known about Dead End Kids for a while, or the second one. Do lots of exclusives through the newsletter. Try to take care of people. If they're willing to twice a month, let me invade their inbox for 20 minutes or so.
Sure. Well, hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Before I go, there's something that we want to start doing here at Pop Cult HQ. It's not much, but it's just a way that we want to give back. Wondering what your favorite local comic shop is, and we'd like to make a donation of $20 to the store in your name.
Oh.
Just something to help out comic retailers, during this time, and with all these interviews I have lined up, we want to be able to help keep them in business. I didn't know if you were a Cape and Cowl guy or.
I feel like I've got like my own little comics retail family at this point. Like, I talk to some retailers on Facebook like daily at this point. But if I had to pick a shop, I'd have to pick my local shop here, and I live just outside the Mission in San Francisco, and I go to Mission Comics down on Mission Street. But Leaf, the owner there, he's been really good to me. He's let me sign at the store, and he's kept my books nice and secure while I take weeks from buying them because I'm traveling, and he's been very good to me. And they're one of the best shops in the city. Like, it's just a great place to be. And if you had to donate in my name, I would absolutely.
I definitely will. I'll reach out to Leaf and check out Mission Comics, and we'll definitely make a donation in your name to help, just a little something to help them towards their road to recovery.
Well, when we're offline, tell me more about this, because I want to match the donation.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll definitely talk offline. Frank, thank you so much, and watch for more stuff. Follow Frank Gogol all across social media, and thanks again, Frank.
Thanks for having me.